Imagine if the One Piece endgame revealed a key that could be used to go back through the story and unlock hidden secrets. Well, I'm 100% serious, we might have actually found one. To be very honest, I came across it 2 years ago, but now it's time to do it justice with its own video. So like and sub, and let's dive straight into this one. Oars wore a loincloth adorned with a symbol. This symbol can be found subtly tucked away in the background of the Kozuki crest. There's a reason why the symbol is important, and here's why. Firstly, it seems ancient. However, all we can say for sure is it's at least roughly 800 years old. We know this because it appears above a poneglyph, for example, and poneglyphs are old, as well as being confirmed tied to Joyboy through the apology that Robin read on Fishman Island. Also, we see this symbol in Marijois, which we can assume goes back to at least the Void Century. The symbol could be a remnant of the Ancient Kingdom, or potentially even the Ancient Kingdom's crest. I'll touch on that towards the end though, so stick around for that. Considering the symbol appears throughout Joyboy's supposed allies, it means Joyboy had either seen the symbol before his journey began and he spread it to others, or he encountered it whilst he was on his journey and adopted it for himself, which is perhaps more likely. At this point, I've probably garnered a reputation for talking about this symbol for a couple of years, and initially I thought the four corners were stone pickaxes, tying to the Wano stonemasons. However, it wasn't until our genius friend Elson pointed out the ends of our symbol resemble whale tails. That's when I realised how important it really is. The symbol depicts 4 pairs of whale tails, and it's heavily suggested throughout the story that Joyboy is connected to island whales. We see this with the sounds the whales make, buo, which resembles the word boy, and it's also highlighted when the Straw Hats enter the New World while Brook plays Binksaki to the excited whales. We see a whale wearing a crown with the same symbol above a depiction of the 3 ancient weapons in this great cover spread. Additionally, there's a panel where Sea Kings mention the 2 sovereigns, one of whom will be born far away, which is most likely a reference to Joyboy being born on the opposite side of the world in the East Blue. The symbol could have a lot of meaning, but firstly, let's look at other examples of the symbol in the story so far and how they tie to Joyboy. So Karibo wears this symbol on his clothing, similar to his brother. He also has the symbols on the rowboats kept on his ship. Mount Sacrifice at Whiskey Peak is completely covered in gravestones that bear the symbol. The symbol can also be found in the Hoard of Sky Pier treasure, which is reminiscent of a few colour spreads that depict this same golden cross. We see the symbol again on the cover that depicts Shanks at a mysterious secret wedding. The wedding is possibly for Shanks and Makino, who appears pregnant in a separate cover story. In a later cover, a baby is shown growing up in a bar, a reflection of the current Joyboy, Luffy's upbringing, as we saw in Fuchsia, where he met Shanks. Next, we have Mihawk. Yoru has the symbol as his handle, which is a blade we have little information about, other than that it's explicitly stated to be wielded by the world's greatest swordsman. This might suggest Yoru was a Joyboy's blade at one point, and that he was once the greatest swordsman in the world. We know Imu has a sword, which might be a clue that Joyboy was a swordsman also. Yoru's origins are unknown, but its name is an anagram of Ryo, Wano's equivalent of Haki, which might be a clue. We know many of the greatest swords are crafted in Wano, and our symbol connects to Wano, so we can probably assume Yoru was originally made in Wano. Yoru is wielded by Mihawk, the man who's currently stated to be the greatest swordsman in the world. Mihawk's raft also has a symbol, demonstrating how early Oda included this symbol from. Mihawk usually resides on the mysterious Gloom Island, where we see a giant monkey holding an even bigger Yoru with the symbol as its mantle again. Furthermore, Mihawk's counterpart Perona wears a crown with this very symbol on the top. Nami can be seen in many colour spreads wearing a crown with the symbol too, which ties to theories surrounding Nami defeating or usurping Imu. However, she isn't the only Straw Hat seen with the symbol. The whale tail symbol can be found worn by Chopper in the Thriller Bark arc, an arc where the symbol is littered throughout. Sanji is another Straw Hat connected to the symbol, as it's also on Sora's gravestone. Sanji is seen holding the symbol after discovering the Sky Pier treasure. Another example of the symbol can be found at Yorkie's grave, the captain of a crew that's heavily tied to Binksaki. Brook is a member of the current Joyboy's crew, so it's possible Binks had ties to Joyboy, or potentially was on Joyboy's crew. Frankie is shown wearing the symbol a couple of times in colour spreads, and Usopp is thought to receive a gigantic hammer later in the story, which could possibly be Harrydene's hammer, as it has the symbol on, and was used to fight Luffy in the Colosseum while Luffy rode a bull. Zoro was followed by a southbird, which eventually flew off while he held onto it. The southbirds have the symbol on the back of their heads. These birds are particularly interesting because the birds always face south. However, they say Jayo, which is an anagram of joy, J-Y-O, J-O-Y, very similar to the whales who say Buyo. The Southbirds are found in the forest of Jaya, and it's heavily implied that Joyboy has deep ties to both forests and Jaya. It is possible that Joyboy made several islands out of Jaya, and also that Laugh-Tale was originally located between the twin dragons. But if you want more on that, check out this earlier video on the topic. There's many thoughts and theories about a shift in the One Piece world's poles happening centuries ago, which if true, could mean the Southbirds originally looked to the east, also known as the Dawn. In the cover story for 644, we see Southbirds facing different directions, indicating these particular birds are free from having to face south. This could suggest when the world is flipped the right way up and Joyboy's Will of D is achieved, the birds will no longer be stuck looking in one direction. Fascinatingly, Robin appears to be the only exception, which if true would be a gigabrain move from Oda. This is because Ohara is inherently connected to Joyboy, and Ohara also had its true history wiped, for example with the Buster Call. This would mean if any of the Straw Hats were likely to not display or know the symbol, it would be the one from Ohara, which of course for us is Robin. Now, to look at some spicier examples of the whale tail symbol, let's start with the most peculiar one I've come across. It's in the Halloween colour spread on the tombstone on the far right of the page, above what appears to be the name Jack. If you've got any ideas what this name could mean, let me know in the comments. Is this Joyboy's final resting place? Was his name Jack tying to the beanstalk we saw in Skypiea? I'm still not sure about this one personally, however the most important of all the reoccurrences of this symbol is above the frozen straw hat in Marijois. This further suggests Joyboy is connected to the symbol, particularly as the straw hat is there, and Emu was holding a picture of Luffy. It's a possibility that Emu is keeping the hat because it is still imbued with some will, probably because of its woven nature. If Laugh-Tale requires certain wills as keys to enter, then Emu may be preserving the Straw Hat's will to use as a key if she finds Laugh-Tale. You can hear more about this kind of thing in my video about cycles within the One Piece world. So, the whale tail symbol is strongly implied to be tied to Joyboy. But why does it feature so prominently in the Kozuki crest? Is Joyboy from Wano? I can understand why some people might think so, but personally I don't think it is the case. As I said earlier, in my opinion it's more likely Joyboy was connected to the ancient kingdom and or the East Blue. In 1055, we discovered there's an old Wano that was submerged by rainwater after walls were put up around the country. Old Wano was flooded roughly 800 years ago, which is around the time Joyboy was alive. We don't know much except the inhabitants have since moved up the mountain and somehow created a new Wano above the flood levels. It's possible Joyboy came to Wano not long after the rainwater floods that displaced the Kozuki clan and the rest of the Wano's inhabitants, and suggested the creation of New Wano. Potentially, Joyboy and his nakama also helped build the new country that we know today. The Kozuki clan are the only ones we know to be able to craft poneglyphs, and we know Joyboy is connected to them because he had an apology to Poseidon written on one, so it's likely they were his allies at the time. Wano is found in the New World, which possibly gets its name from Joyboy rebuilding countries similar to New Wano. It's definitely true that one sea is inhabited mostly by humans, some of whom are prejudiced, which is called Paradise, and the New World seems mostly inhabited by non-human species, such as the mink, meaning it might have been Joyboy that somehow built the New World, hence its name New World. Also remember Pluton was put in Wano around this time too. This may have been part of the reason Joyboy went to Wano, but so far we really don't have much information on how Pluton got there. On another note, when you look at the shape of Jaya, Skypiea, Longring Longland and Onigashima, we can see what looks like puzzle pieces. It may have been that Joyboy and his nakama, such as young Oars and Zunisha, moved land masses to bring land to Wano. This is a very pirate-themed way of building an island and could reflect the island of Misfits Oars was said to have built 500 years ago. This is likely how Oars got its epithet as the continent puller. If you've seen Preach and Wizard of Oz theories about how Oars is Joyboy, then you'll know there's an absolute ton of ties between the ancient giant Oars and Joyboy. Links in the description below for their videos if you do want to check that out. We know through supplemental information he was likely born over, say, 700 years ago, so I think it's possible Oars might have been Joyboy's nakama when he was very young. Interestingly, Moria found him in the land of ice as opposed to underwater below the floods. Now, considering the land of ice is a country in Wano established after the rainwater flooded old Wano, it means Oars was present in Wano after the flood, and we could probably assume after the islands were put together. Additionally, Oars was demonized in history, something that seems to befall anyone closely associated with Joyboy and the D clan, who are also known as the enemies of the gods. It might have been around this time Zunisha first visited Wano. Her recent appearance in Wano may be a parallel to roughly 800 years in the past, especially considering she's Joyboy's nakama, and Luffy had Joyboy's heartbeat in Wano. Also, it seems Zunisha already knew how to find Wano, and her punishment coincidentally just so happens to be 800 years long, so time-wise it ties in with Joyboy being alive. Vanderdecken I appears to have ties with Joyboy. He may have been Nakama also, and his underwater travelling ship, the Flying Dutchman, may have been involved in delivering Joyboy's apology to Fishman Island. I'll go over Joyboy's entire crew properly in another video in this series, but for now, I'm just going to try keep sticking to Wano, so sub to keep posted for more. Anyway, back to Wano, let's look at the Kozuki Crest in a little more detail. We have our cross symbol, covered by a bird, looking left, with 8 lines indicating wings, a strange circle that looks like a sun, and a black circle at the bottom surrounded by 8 smaller circles. There's a lot going on here, but the crest is actually quite simple when broken up into parts. We see our whale tail symbol in the back there. It appears as crossbones behind the rest of the crest, similar to many Jolly Rogers. Furthermore, we have the bird looking left. In real life, there is the Mori clan, which has a very similar symbol. There's no doubt it acted somewhat as inspiration, seeing as the clan were battle hardy and most known during the Sengoku period. The bird itself is possibly a crane. In Japan, the crane is a national treasure, representing longevity. This is because it was thought to have a lifespan of 1,000 years. I theorize the crane is looking left because left is east currently in the One Piece world, an example of how the world's been flipped upside down, as it says in One Piece. So to clarify what I mean by that is usually on a normal map, on the left side of the page is west, on the right side is the east. But in our story, on the left side of the map is the east blue and on the right side is the west. In other words, the bird is looking at the dawn, the east blue, and the arrival of the next sovereign. Next, we have the wings. Recently, more than ever, we see references to particular crew members described as wings. The term wings is used to imply they lift their captains higher, a metaphor meaning to significantly assist their captains in achieving their goals. This suggests the wings on the symbol represent the individual wings of people who uphold whatever the bird represents as it looks to the dawn. In other words, the wings could represent Nakama. Now we have this strange circular symbol surrounding the bird, which resembles a sun. It may represent the sun having risen as a full circle, indicating the dawn is complete, but it's also possibly a tribute to Sun God Nika. Out of all of the components of this crest, this is by far the least common in the One Piece story. Again, if you do see other examples of that symbol, let me know. And I know there's like some sunflower stuff on t-shirts and blah blah blah, but I'm not sure about that with this. Finally, we have the circles at the bottom surrounding a larger circle. Notice how they sit on the chest of the crane, almost like it's from the heart, the place from which Joyboy's beak comes. This is also evidenced in an SBS which showed Apu's heart to be a drum. We are yet to have hard confirmation of what the symbol means, but we've seen many different variations throughout the story. By looking among Joyboy's likely allies, we can quickly find the 8 kingdoms. Each of these places shares a variation of the same symbol, which is the biggest indicator of who's among the 8. These were most likely Fishman Island, Alabasta, Zou, Wano, Goa, Shandora, Water 7 and Skypiea. In each location, you can find almost identical circular designs for towns and villages. For example, Kuri, Goa Kingdom, and Zou, just to name a few. So it's most likely that the symbol at the bottom of the Kozuki Crest represents the 8 kingdoms surrounding the ancient kingdom. The suffix of all the clans in Wano except Kurizumi are Suki, which means moon. So alternatively, the symbol could mean 8 moons circling the sun or dawn. Lastly, it may have been the case that the new Wano was supposed to consist of 8 regions instead of the current 7, which would be the regions we have now plus Zou. The Mink are known to get their Sulong power up from the moon, so this would fit the pattern of the 8 bringing in the dawn also. So with all this in mind, let's look at what this could mean as a whole. It's likely the whale tail symbol is Joyboy's crest. Interestingly, none of the examples of the symbol that appear in the story so far seem to be older than the Void Century, with Marie-Joie being the only real potential exception. It's even possible Joyboy used the symbol as his Jolly Roger, considering this is a story about pirates after all, but I have more thoughts on that in the first part of this Joyboy miniseries. If Joyboy and his crew were the ones that helped rebuild Wano, then it would explain why the whale-tailed Jolly Roger would be in the background of the Kozuki Crest. On the other hand, if the symbol is older than the Void Century, then it may be the symbol of the ancient kingdom. However, there is significantly less evidence that suggests this. Expect Joyboy's whale-tail symbol to have a late reveal and act as a key of sorts that we can use to go back through the story and find hidden secrets. Okay, so that's it from me. If you found more examples and want to let me know, drop a comment. Or message me in the Discord link below. If you made it this far, you've just won a couple bottles of hero water, so careful with it. Much love, take it easy, peeps, and peace.